Hello, and thank you for watching this Money Matters presentation, Adulting 101. Is it all inclusive or mostly excluded? And today you will learn about what it really costs to rent and buy and some general home information. My name is Rachel Mason, and I used to be one of CVTC's Student Central Advisors, along with Katie Beck. Within recent months, we both accepted roles as full-time academic advisors at CVTC, so you'll still see us around, but not in this capacity. And with that being said, Money Matters is going to look different this semester, which is the spring of 2024. We'll be having all of our workshops pre-recorded instead of offering them face-to-face or via Zoom. And there will be limited events put on by Money Matters. However, Money Matters is not going anywhere, and the new department who gets it is just taking their time to revamp the programming, come up with more amazing topics and prizes. So we appreciate your patience this semester as things are changing, and we know Money Matters will continue to be great. You may hear us talk about moolah. While we can't give you actual moolah, what we can do is reward you for participating in Money Matters events. Each Money Matters activity, such as a workshop like this, questions of the week, monthly challenges, they're all assigned a moolah amount. Moolah is a raffle ticket. The more moolah you earn, the better chance you have of winning prizes. Today, you can earn $10 in moolah by watching this presentation and then completing the workshop reflection. You are now only $5 away from being entered to win one of the grand prizes that vary from semester to semester. Every semester, Money Matters puts on workshops for various financial wellness topics. So by attending a workshop, you will earn $10 in moolah, plus you will be entered to win one of the workshop prizes. And if you have at least $15 in moolah, you are eligible for the semester grand prizes as well. And the more moolah you have, the better chance you have of winning. And while these might not be the workshop and semester prizes, depending on when you're viewing this, you can check out all up-to-date workshops, the times, and prizes by checking out the Money Matters page in your Student Commons account. These are just a few, and I'm going to emphasize a few of our past Money Matters winners. For almost over 7 years, we have had thousands of students win prizes for attending and participating in various Money Matters events and activities. In the past, winners have won Roombas, grills, outdoor patio sets, hundreds of dollars in gift cards, country jam tickets, and espresso machines. So we want you to be up on this slide for next time. So let's get you some points. This is a first of its kind in the workshop, and it's called Adulting 101, All Included or Mostly Excluded. And in the past, we have done renting versus buying a few times and getting students familiar with financing of that. But really, what does it cost to own a house? What are these charges coming up? What does it mean to have gas versus sewer? So this is what it is. We want to see what is included in rent or what's included in your house payment, or what is mostly excluded and that you kind of have to save money and be prepared to spend that outside of your normal mortgage or rent bill. There's no denying that the price of renting, buying homes, and just monthly bills are increasing, and it is getting harder and harder for many people to keep up with the normal cost of living. Experts in the past have said to budget your monthly income by using the 50-30-20 rule, which is putting 50% of your monthly income into the needs category like housing, utilities, groceries, 30% into wants, cable, internet, gym, and 20% towards savings, student loan repayment, or debt. But that is not the case for most people these days, and now we are seeing that experts are now changing this percentage budget to 70-20-10. Now, with the rising costs of just general living expenses, it's important more than ever to understand what that true costs are. We're going to dive into renting and the costs of it. First up is all-included renting. This can vary on the landlord and rental properties. So to summarize, that means that some of those monthly living expenses are included in the rent price. It is not a popular option and it is hard to find, but it can be an option. If such things are included, it can help stabilize a budget because you're knowing exactly what your needs will be each month, and you will have a set amount to put away per paycheck and not have higher of those unexpected costs of like either a cold month or a really hot summer. However, this means that your monthly rental payment could be higher than most in the area, and your landlord wants to make sure that they are making money too. And you may ask, what would be included in that price of your rent base to make it higher? And depending on that landlord or rental property, this could include electricity, gas, water, trash, and sewer. In the next slides, we're going to dig deep and break down what each of these are and what they are attached to with rental properties, and then also how it relates to if you own a home. So electric and electricity, this provides power when and where it is needed through electrical circuits. Electricity is generated in power stations and then transported around the country. Your lighting, washing machine, dishwashers, refrigerator, TV, cable box, and computer are just some of the most common things that take electricity and can add up each month. You are charged each month for your electricity usage by meters, and meters measures the amount of electricity that you use each month, and that is what you are charged based on a set price by the electric company. Gas is another charge that helps furnaces, your gas ranges and ovens, water heaters, your clothes dryers. If you have a fireplace, fire pits and grills, and even some outdoor lighting, they use gas as their source of energy to work. This is another cost that can add up each month, especially depending on your usage. Most cities use natural gas for safety purposes. And then natural gas is lighter than air and will dissipate quality if dispersed into the atmosphere. And many rural homeowners, so living out in the country, they do not have access to natural gas, or they may not have access to natural gas pipelines. So they're relying on propane for their space heating, so that their water heating, their clothes drying, anything else that is powered by gas that you may get in a city. Roughly 8% of the homes in the Midwest are heated with propane, and nationally, about 7 million households use propane for space heat. Propane is usually more expensive than natural gas, but it is also more efficient. Propane produces about twice as much heat energy as an equivalent amount of natural gas. If your gas or your home has a gas line hooked up, natural gas will cost you less over time. So there really isn't a better option, but sometimes you may not have a choice depending on where you live. Water should be free, right? Unfortunately, that is not the case. Water is charged through indoor and outdoor usage. This can include drinking water, your faucets, bathing, washing machines, dishwasher, watering the garden, and toilets. And there are everyday appliances in our house that we use daily, and we are being charged for the usage. If your house or rental property is connected to city water, the city collects the water from a water source, it purifies and filters it, and it makes sure it's safe to use and drink. Then it will reroute it back into your home through a pipeline system, and it'll come out of your faucet or your hose when you're using it. There are pros and cons to city water, and there are times when you have no choice in what kind of water you'll get. It just depends on the part of town and where you live. For city water, the city manages, maintains, and delivers the water. The EPA, or the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, tests water daily for safety. City water also has added nutrients to it, like fluoride and chlorine. Chlorine kills disease-causing germs like norovirus and salmonella. Fluoride is a safe and cost-effective way to prevent tooth decay and cavities. Unless you live in a rural area, there's a good chance you have city water at your home or rental. You simply have to ask the city to turn it on to access your water supply and pay the bills. And although there is many personal debates between city water and well water, city water really can increase your home value. And then since well water can be unpredictable for many reasons, banks will offer better loan rates to homeowners with city water. City water is not as fresh as well water, and this is because city water is collected from runoff and surface water that contains more pollutants and contaminants. The filtering process of the water removes nutrients and minerals that give it a less than fresh taste. Even with daily testing and adding minerals, contaminants can still find their way into city water through old pipe systems. Another downside of having city water is the cost. Water bills are increasing due to the amount of pollution from those water sources, and the more pollution the water has, the more expensive it is to clean and filter. While having someone else expect and manage your water treatment is convenient, the costs do add up. And there are high costs if you miss water payments or if you don't pay your water bill. The city can and will turn off your water supply as well. Large-scale natural disasters such as floods or hurricanes can cause mass-scale contamination of city water. It can take the city days or even weeks to clean the water, pipes, and equipment to make sure the water is safe for consumption. This is why it's essential to always follow any water boiling advisories, but especially during natural disasters. And then depending on your city and where you're at and your home or your rental, your water can be hard or soft. Hard water is water with a high level of minerals suspended into it. And while the minerals are not dangerous, they do create residue buildup in pipes and appliances. And to get soft water, you would install a custom water softener or water conditioning system that can fix any of your hard water problems. If you don't have city water, what else would you have? Well, that answer is well water. A well is a hole drilled into the ground to access water contained in an aquifer. A pipe and a pump are used to pull water out of the ground. There's also a screen that filters out unwanted particles that could clog the pipe and that things you wouldn't want in your water. Wells come in different shapes and sizes, and then depends on the type of material that well is drilled into and how much water is being pumped out. According to the Groundwater Foundation, more than 42 million people in the United States use individual or private wells to supply water to their homes. The positive of well water is that there are no water bills. Unlike city waters, those with well water are lucky not to get a water bill. And if you use a septic system, you won't have a sewer bill either, and we'll talk about that in the next couple slides. But fewer bills means saving money. A lot of people notice and comment that well water has a fresher taste as it comes directly from the ground source and has more minerals. Well water comes from deep in the ground, providing higher nutrients and a fresher look. The underlying soils and rocks naturally filter the water. The higher mineral count makes the water taste better and it benefits human health. Well water is not affected by natural disasters, and mentioned earlier, natural disasters can interrupt the city's ability to provide clear and healthy water. And there are cons to well water. First, it needs electricity. Electricity moves the water through the ground into your home. If you lose electricity or you're not paying for it, you won't have a working water pump. If the pump malfunctions or develops a fault, it will need to rely on a generator or solar power. While not having to pay a water bill is great, it also means that you're responsible for maintaining your well, the well water quality, and maintenance. The EPA, or U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, does not test private well water. You as a homeowner will need to test for bacteria, viruses, and other contaminants that can get costly. So it's not necessarily cheaper to have a well water. And then although well water typically has lower or has fewer minor contamination issues than city water, it can still be contaminated. Harmful chemicals, bacteria, dead animals, and even sewage are all possible contaminants. Nearby septic systems can also pollute the well, especially if there's a leak. And if you have well water and you notice your water looks cloudy or has a foul taste, you should test your water for contamination. And then finally, like city water, well water is hard water. Common problems caused by hard water include feeling residue on your skin after washing or bathing, soap scum on dishes, the necessity of more soap or detergent to clean household items, which then cost more money, and the buildup of solid deposits of minerals like calcium carbonate in appliances like your dishwasher, your water heater, and pipes. So even your Keurig can experience buildup. Waste. This is not a fun topic. If your home or rental is connected to city water, you are paying to use the city pipes and treatment plants. These facilities collect and treat wastewater. The operation cost, any special projects or updates to the plants. Your sewer bill is based on the average water use of a household. You can use less water and save on your sewer bill by checking for leaks, taking shorter showers, turning your faucets off, waiting until you have a full load to run your washing machine and dishwasher, and switching to energy efficient and water sufficient appliances. If you don't have a sewer system, you would have a septic tank, and this would be for like rural areas or country. Septic systems are private, and the wastewater treatment takes place at your home. So you're not paying for the water to go out, get cleaned, and come back in to make it that you can use the water. They work by separating and breaking down the contents of your wastewater. Depending on the size of your septic tank, they need to be emptied every 3 to 5 years. And then you have to hire someone to empty your tank, and that can range from $3,600 to $10,000. The average around this area is about $6,300. So you do have to weigh those pros and cons of, is your water first included fully in rent, or are you paying for it with your rent or mortgage? And if not, if you're renting out in the country or buying, thinking about the septic. And if you're renting out in the country, your landlord's probably paying for the septic. Now that you know the difference between city and well water and city sewer and septic tanks, what would happen if you had one of these and then you are asked to switch? Well, it normally would not happen if you already have city water and sewer, but if you live in rural areas, you may have to annex. And annexing is the additional or incorporation of a territory into a county or city, and this is very common in place with growth. So by this, if you're living on the outskirts of, let's say, Eau Claire, and now Eau Claire keeps expanding, if you typically have well water or septic tanks, you're going into a population now where they're saying you have to annex over into city water and sewer. And even though you're not the one making the changes, you have to pay for it. When I was looking for a home, that was one of the biggest things, especially if I knew it was kind of on the outskirts of town, is, have you heard anything about annexing? And if so, do you know when? Because I would have to add that to my monthly payments when it would change. And then if you couldn't pay for those upgrades right away, it would go onto your property tax. So that's something to think about when you are purchasing or asking people that may have had this done, is that if you are in the country and things keep expanding, you may have to get forced into city sewer and water without a choice, but you're having to pay for that. So you have to pay someone to take your trash or your recycling, and this is helping with cleanliness and sustainability. You're paying someone to take your stuff to go to a plant to get sorted, recycled, or disposed of. And trash, sometimes, even if your rent isn't all included with this, some places do, just because it is relatively cheap. For me, my bill comes every 3 months, and that's crucial to know if you're paying when you're renting or even buying out, and you're paying out of pocket for your trash and recycling needs, that you are making that in your budget, because when it's that third month and you don't manage it, it's kind of an unexpected bill and you want to make sure that you can pay for it. I just average every month a third of what my total bill is and just put that aside, so when it does come up, I have the money for it. But that is something that in city that you have to do. Some apartment buildings, you just bring it to a dumpster that might be included in your rent, but you do have to pay for trash and recycling. And that, again, is you want it for sustainability, cleanliness, and we're having someone pick it up so we don't have to bring it to a dump. But some people do that, especially living out in the country. So thinking about trash and recycling and those costs. And another cost that could be included in your rent, but mainly not, is internet and cable. So cable is the video delivery service, and it's provided by the cable operator using cable or fiber optics. And then you're charged a subscription fee for the transmission. And then internet is worldwide. It's a global network of physical cables, and your Wi-Fi is relying on a physical cable to access the internet. It's like your router, and then request over wires to a server. And not a lot of people have cable anymore. I think we switched to online services or subscription that goes through the internet and Wi-Fi. So the bills for cable and internet maybe not be as expensive, but internet keeps increasing because the companies know that people are not paying for the cable. They're going that streaming route. So having to pay for internet, having reliable internet, you might have to pay a little bit more. And there are certain hotspots that you can rent from the library or even CVTC to help that. But budgeting internet into your budget. And then if you do want like TV or cable and you live out in the country, sometimes the city cable and internet aren't always the best. So you have to get different routers, different services, even Dish to get the transmissions to come to your TV. That is an additional cost to think about as well. So if you can find a rental property, whether it's an apartment or a home, and everything's included, so the water, utilities, which is like the gas or propane, the internet cable, first, it's rare, but if you can, you would know you have consistent utility cost. You aren't having to budget for those cold months, those hot months. Maybe you're using more things this month. You can easily have a monthly budget because you know everything's going to be the same. I'm just paying this downright amount. Everything's included. You won't have to have new utility account deposits, transfer fees, or late payment fees as long as you're paying that rent on time. There's no credit checks to open, and then you can have control over your home's thermostat because you're not paying for it. But not a lot of places have it because they're cons, because the properties can be more expensive than comparable properties because the landlord needs to make sure that they're getting paid as well. Your utilities could be capped to a certain percentage each month, and if you went over, you went over. You may have to pay overage fees for using more than the estimated utilities with your landlord. You might consume less than your neighbors, but pay the same amount. This happens with my parents. They live in a retirement condo community, and everything's just a base rent, and that includes water and utilities, but their unit next to them could be having quadruple the amount of usage of water, but everyone's paying the same. Your landlord may control your air or the heat. You're not building any credit by making payments directly to your landlord versus if you're paying Spectrum or XL, you're gaining those credits. And then it's harder to find utilities included in properties just because everything's so expensive and it all depends on usage. But there are the pros and cons of an all-included property. And for most of us, we are in places where they're all included. So even if you have your rent payment or your mortgage payment, you're having to pay the water, sewage, trash, gas, your propane, cable, internet, all those other costs. So there's so many ways to help with monthly bills to kind of be on that consistent, if you had an all-included payment. What I do, something called budget billing, and this allows you to you're paying a set amount each month. So you're continuing to pay your bill as usual each month, and then you're going to receive alerts anytime the set amount is scheduled to charge. So for me, every week I put the same amount into XL, Energy, and Spectrum, even though I know it's not due, because that's my way of budgeting. So when it's a month later and the bill's due, I'm not having to pay anything out of pocket, essentially, because I've already prepaid ahead. And if you have extra credits, that will roll over to the next month. So if you get an extra paycheck or you got a refund on something, you can do budget billing to pay ahead. And then By budget billing, your utility company will review the average energy usage at your home for the past 12 to 24 months. The average monthly cost and anticipated energy prices are then used to calculate your new monthly bill under the budget billing plan. And you'll pay a set amount each month. So you could pay directly to your utility service. I could not find anywhere in Excel that lets you technically do budget billing, but I do my own budget billing. And I do that with garbage too. I set aside each month what a third of my bill is. And then kind of about water too, it does vary, but I try to keep very consistency. So it's not, when the bill comes up, it's not something I have to scramble with, or getting late fees to a landlord or getting late fees to a utility company, because I've planned that, and it makes your budget more smooth, consistent, and it just helps you be better with managing and budgeting your money. And we all want to lower our costs each month, especially with utility, because those is the ones that really do change frequently. I've noticed, my garbage doesn't go up too much. My water kind of is roughly the same every 3 months, but the utility can vary. And that's just where we live too, with the winters and how much energy we're using. But there's ways to lower your utility costs, and that is changing your air filters regularly. My landlord used to do that. Now they don't. So I have to go out and get the furnace filters, but I'm changing it regularly because it does not only for health reasons circulate the air, keep it clean, filter it, but it does not make your furnace or air conditioner work as hard, which is in return increasing the cost of your bills. You want to keep your air vents open and clear. This is even with your dryer and washing machine. If they're clogged up, your machine's working harder to get that energy pushed out to give you the heat, or if it is like your baseboard heat or air, if those vents aren't clear, you're not feeling it. So maybe you're increasing the heat or lowering the air to feel those needs of it. You want to replace old appliances, and that's harder if you're renting because you have no choice over that. I mean, you can work with your landlord to replace it, but older appliances are running harder. They're not as energy efficient, and this could increase your bills many times. My dishwasher, I know I have to run 4 or 5 times to even make it work, and I've worked with my landlord, like, oh, it's fine, they fix a part. Same with my water heater. If you do own, that's something to keep into costs. If you can afford your monthly payments and you have that budget, maybe putting a little bit more month into replacing your old appliances, or if you are buying and asking how old these appliances are or knowing if you'd have to replace them. You can use a programmable thermostat. A lot of them are on your phones now, and if you have smart appliances and thermostats, that you can program it to be the same. If you are out at home and oh my gosh, it's a really nice day, I should have lowered my heat, you could do that. And it just helps too if you're out of town and forget, or it gets really cold. You just want to make sure that you can change it and that you can. You want to turn off lights and vampire electronics, and that means things that aren't using at night, or vice versa. If I'm at work, I try to unplug a lot of things that I'm not using, or I have a coffee machine on my counter and I only use it when guests come over, which is very rare, but if I had it plugged in all the time, while it is adding up, and it's not a lot, it is adding up. Things that take a lot of energy, you want to seal air leaks around doors and windows, and this is especially good for winter because that's when the furnaces are using the most, and using different seals to help that. And then using appliances wisely. Well, I probably shouldn't have mentioned my dishwasher. I do know that sometimes studies show that hand washing can use as much water, but using it wisely, not if you are using your dishwasher, making sure it's all the way filled. Same with your laundry and dryer. You don't want to overfill it where it's working even harder, especially if you have an old machine. Or some people reuse rainwater to water their plants outside. Little ways to lower your utility cost or other cost, and just to make you more frugal and understanding of what may be included, but are typically mostly excluded. We know this was a very broad topic, and there's probably something that we missed or other topics you wanted to know more about, so don't hesitate to first reach out to your landlord and see if what is included. If you don't already know, could they try to include things or work with you? Or what is excluded, and finding ways to budget. So doing that budget billing, paying ahead, knowing all your resources and how to get the most out of what you're paying, because it is expensive to add on that on top of your rent or mortgage. If you're thinking of buying a house, looking when you're working with realtors, country, with that well water, septic tank versus city, thinking of pros and cons and essentially what's best for you. We hope that you learned something. This was our first time doing this. We learned a lot, and there's so many things about adulting that we feel aren't really mentioned. So again, we hope you learned something. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. But otherwise, have a great day, and thanks for watching.